missing someone without you.
Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today is the second part in my culture exchange program application and interview process. This one's going to be all about the pre-screened interviews, which are group interviews that take place in September every year, and they are done by Yummy Jobs, who are the agency for Disney in the UK. The pre-screened interviews usually take place around the last week of September every single year. So this cycle, they took place from the 24th until the 30th of September. The 24th to the 27th was the Tuesday to the Friday, and this was for first-time applicants or people that hadn't got through previously. And on the 30th, which was the Monday, that was for alumni. So there were two slots on each interview day. One was in the morning at 9:30 and the other one was in the afternoon at 2:15. Now the interviews each take about 50 people. When you get invited to the pre-screens back in August, Yummy Jobs will send you an email congratulating you on getting through to the pre-screens. And in that email, they will allocate you a time slot. So the time slot I was allocated was Thursday the 26th of September at 2:15. Now this worked absolutely perfectly for me because I live far away, so it gave me the whole morning to travel down and get to Epping. But if you got a morning slot and you didn't live quite so close, then you would have to get accommodation for the night before. I know a lot of people stayed at the Bell Hotel in Epping, and that was quite a good location for getting to the interview. I do know some people that couldn't actually make their time slot, and so they emailed Yummy Jobs to ask if they could rearrange, and they were able to do that, but there isn't much space to rearrange because the interviews are full. So if you can just stay with your time slot, that is going to be the best. The pre-screen interviews take place at Yummy Jobs offices in Epping. It's on Epping High Street and it is basically a little grey door. It's next to the British Heart Foundation, and honestly, if I hadn't watched any YouTube videos before going, I would have found it so difficult to find the office. If you are struggling to find it, it is exactly opposite the Starbucks. So if you can't find it, find the Starbucks and go just opposite on the other side of the road, and there's a little grey door. In our pre-screen invitation email, we were told to bring with us a copy of our most up-to-date CV and a professional profile picture. I think it was about a 2x2 we were asked to bring. I will insert the picture that I brought now. It was the same as the picture that I used for my profile picture on my online application. So if you're wondering what picture I used for my online application, this is it. And for my up-to-date CV, I just used the one from my online application because it was basically the same one that I'd already submitted. For printing my photos for the 2x2, I actually went onto an app called Freeprints. It's free to download on the App Store, and there's an option to do a passport style photo. So that gives you 4 of the image that you've decided to choose. So I did that, and it literally cost me I think it was like £1.99 to deliver to my house. It was really good quality on photo paper, and it was slightly bigger than was requested. I think it was 2x3, but I just trimmed it myself. I just took a tiny little bit off the bottom to make it the right size. I know other people just printed it off using their printer at home and then just cut it out themselves from normal paper. I also brought my passport with me as well, but we didn't actually need this. I just know that in other years they had asked for the passport. So unless they specifically asked for it, you don't need to bring your passport with you. Most of what we could wear, we were told by Yummy Jobs in the pre-screen invitation email that it was kind of like business casual dress. So from watching other YouTube videos and from talking to people in the group chat, I kind of decided to go for a more business approach. So I wore an office checkered dress with tights and kind of like black pumps. I just knew that I would be comfortable in it because I knew I'd be in it all day. I kept my makeup really simple. I just covered any like spots or blemishes. I put on a small amount of bronzer just to give myself a little bit of colour because I'm so pale, and I just put on a very small amount of mascara on my top lashes. And for my hair, I actually just left it as it is, like this. I do actually have ear piercings, but I don't really wear them a lot, so I just went bare, like no jewellery. But I know some people that wore jewellery. If anyone asks you about like what you're wearing, you can just say that you'll be in total Disney look for the programme. I actually travelled up with my mum, and we decided to travel by car because it was actually cheaper than getting the train. So we left really early in the morning. I think we left about 7 AM ish, and we drove, and I'm really glad we left early because we actually hit major traffic. Because I live down near Exeter, we had to drive all the way around the motorway above London and then come back down into Essex, into Epping. So it was a really long journey. So if you do live like a far distance and you are trying to travel up on the same day, I would really give yourself a lot of time because you do not want to miss this interview. We ended up getting to Epping pretty early, so we found somewhere nearby, not actually in Epping, for some lunch. We had some lunch. I was able to put some makeup on because I'd gone barefaced and just pull myself together. And I'm not gonna lie, I was so nervous. I could barely eat anything because I don't know why I'd got myself so worked up, but I think because I knew there was such a large cut, I was kind of thinking, oh, like I'm really excited to do this, but I'm not sure I'm gonna get through. So at this point in time, I was absolutely bricking it. But then once we finished lunch, we drove over to Epping. Once we had found out originally what time our pre-screen interview times and dates were, we had made individual group chats, so be prepared for a lot of group chats. Honestly, it's crazy. But we had a group chat for my time slot and date, and it allowed us to talk about where we wanted to meet beforehand. We had decided in our group chat to meet in the Costa. The Costa is just a little bit down from the Starbucks, and it was rammed when I got in because I got there at about 1:15, so about an hour before our interview at 2:15, and there was no space. And when I got inside, the staff at Costa actually asked if I could go outside because we were all starting to like block the like fire exit pathway. So a load of us who were kind of just stood around decided to go outside. It was still pretty nice weather and there was some tables and chairs outside. It was actually really nice to just be in the fresh air, and there was just a small group of us, maybe about 8 to 10 of us, and we were all just sat around a table and just talking about which unis we go to, which courses, the roles we're interested in, and if we'd done this kind of interview before. And it just helped settle my nerves so much. By the time I'd finished talking with these girls, I honestly felt so relaxed and like ready to face the interview. At about 2:10, we decided to head over and start lining up outside the Yummy Jobs office, and at 2:15 they let us in. When we got inside, we had to find our names on the register and sign next to it to say that we had attended our interview, and then they gave us a sticker with our group interview time slot and which group we were actually in. So I was in Team Ratcliffe. This is actually my DCEP folder, and my slot was 3:30 to 4:30. So this is what I received when I registered. I was so happy that I got the 3:30 to 4:30 slot because it is the earlier group interview slot. There is another one from 4:30 to 5:30. And I knew that if I got the later one, I would be getting home at about midnight. There was actually a Macmillan bake sale going on that day. I think they do this every single year. So people were bringing along cakes, and after you'd registered, you had the opportunity to purchase a cake, and some people had brought some amazing bakes. Like really incredible. Honestly, it was like Great British Bake Off stuff. After that we'd all registered and people had helped themselves to cakes, we all sat down and they put on a presentation. This presentation is so amazing. People talk about it in all the YouTube videos, but honestly it has everyone like welling up and getting so excited for the programme. It's basically a highlight reel of everything that the programme involves, and then they talk through some elements of the programme, so the kind of roles that are available, the housing options, the costs, and all kinds of things like that. They actually gave us a sheet and that had all the different breakdowns of the costs for this year. As I said in my online application video, I'm going to be going through the costs once I get back from my programme, just to give you a real accurate representation of everything I actually spent. Once we'd done the presentation, there was some trivia questions where they gave out sweets for people getting the right answers, and it was just a really nice breakup of the day and helped everyone to really like relax before the nerve-wracking interview actually started. The interviews happen in 2 time slots. The first time slot happens exactly after the presentation, so it was 3:30 to 4:30, which was what I was in, and then the second time slot was 4:30 to 5:30. If you got the later time time slot you were actually asked to leave, or I think you could stay to have cakes, but you had to be really, really quiet. I wasn't in this time slot, so I don't know exactly what happened, but I think the majority of people actually did leave and either went to Costa or Starbucks. If you had the earlier time slot, which I did, you basically went straight into your interview, which I quite like because I knew that if I had had any more time to think about it, I would have worked myself up so much. They called us by our group interview names and we all went in, and it was about groups of 8. So I went in with my group of 8 and we had Aaron hosting our interview. We all sat down in a kind of like semicircle and he was behind a desk opposite us, and it was a really, really small interview room, so it felt really like personal, and he was so friendly that it honestly felt like so casual. So although I was really, really nervous, my nerves had definitely calmed down like once I saw what the interview was. So when we first got in there, Aaron took our documents off us, so our CV and our picture, and he like clipped it together with some documents that he had to fill in. And whilst he was putting all of our documents together and sorting all of that out, he asked us to talk to the person next to us and kind of like learn about them. So he wanted us to learn their name, their university that they attend, and where they live, and the course that they do, and their favourite childhood snack. Once he'd got everything in order and we had talked to the person next to us, he went round in the semicircle asking us to introduce each other, and I think it was a really, really good way of, one, him seeing how you interact with other people, seeing that you're like really friendly, and also just a bit of an icebreaker just to start the interview off on kind of like an easy, like light kind of question. And we had a few giggles and it just really, really like the tension in the room just went so down after everyone had a little bit of a laugh. So it was a really, really good way to start the interview. He made sure that we were available for the programme dates because the programme dates had been, I think, almost confirmed by then. So our programme dates are the 15th of June to the 20th of August. So he just asked us if we were available for that. He also asked us if we had a valid passport. As I said previously, we didn't actually have to bring it with us, but he just wanted to make sure that they were valid, or that they would be valid for when we went on the programme. Then we were then asked if we had any tattoos or piercings. He then went on to ask us what our 2 top roles were. He decided a person to start with, and then we just went round the semicircle from that person, and we had to say what our 2 top roles were and like why, and why we think that we'd be good at them. Almost everybody said attractions and merchandise, and I was the last person to answer this question, and I knew that my top roles were also attractions and merchandise. So the whole way around the circle, I was thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to say? Because everyone else has pretty much said like what I was planning on saying for these questions. So whilst everyone was talking, I just had like a really like quick think about something that I could say that was a little bit different and hopefully made me stand out slightly. For attractions, I said why I love attractions in general, and that it's my favourite part of going to Disney World. And then I said about how I really like to immerse people in the experience, and I believe that a lot of the cast members do that during the attractions by wearing the costume and playing a part, and I just absolutely love that. And then I also brought in some safety stuff because I know safety is a massive part of the attractions role. And my merchandise answer was really short, but I basically just said that I've got previous experience in merchandise or in like working in a shop, and I think that I could use those skills that I've already learned to do the role in Disney World. He then asked us all why we want to do the programme, and again he chose someone to start with and we all took it in turns around the semicircle. I actually really enjoyed this way of answering questions because it meant that everyone got a chance to really fully answer and you didn't feel like you were interrupting anyone or getting in anyone's way. For why we want to do the programme, I basically said exactly what was on my online application. I mentioned culture and my previous experience with studying in Madrid, and then I also just said about the business stuff that I talked about in my online application and how all of that together makes me want to do the programme. And surprisingly, the next one was our last question, was have we had roommates before and have we had any issues with them? And if we have had issues, how did we resolve that? This question he decided to do as like a kind of discussion. So we did take it in turns, but instead of going from one person and going around in a semicircle, we just all like kind of went in. So one girl started, and then once someone could sense that that was the end, the next person started. And this this was a little bit more difficult because, again, as I said previously, like, you want to get your answer across, but you don't want to interrupt anyone because you don't want to look like you're being rude or that you're kind of jumping the gun. So this was a bit more difficult to judge when to speak up and when to not. And I think I did okay. I would probably say that overall I was probably a little bit too full on. But I was so nervous and I was so scared about not saying what I wanted to say that I kind of swayed the other way and almost said too much. But I mean, I've got onto the programme, so it can't have been that bad. And I just said that we've had troubles with making sure that everyone cleans fairly and that everyone takes their part. So I've just said about how I've done cleaning rotas in the past. And then the last thing was, do we have any questions for him? I think I asked Aaron what other things he enjoys to do in Orlando that aren't like Disney World. My main advice for the interview portion of the pre-screens is to just be really smiley, be really engaging. So even when you're not speaking, nod and show that you're intently listening to other people, because I don't know if this is 100% true, but something that I got from other YouTube videos and something that I actually took along from my own experience was that they are looking more about how you're interacting with others rather than exactly what you're saying. Don't worry if you're panicking about a question and you're not really sure what to say, or you accidentally repeat something that someone else has said. Just make sure that you're smiling, that you're showing your personality, and that, yeah, you're interacting with other people. Once we'd asked all of our questions, we left. We took a picture by the wall, the famous Yummy Jobs wall, and then I left. And that was the end, and I drove home. And that was the whole day. So it was a long day, but honestly, I just remember being like, I feel really content with how that went, and I knew that I couldn't have done much else to improve it. So I just thought, well, I'm in Yummy Jobs' hands now. The interviews finished on the 30th of September, which was the Monday, and that was the alumni interviews. And on the Tuesday, which was the 1st of October, we received an email from Yummy Jobs thanking us for coming to the interview. Now, we were told during our presentation that we would hear back by the 9th of October, which was, for me, just under 2 weeks after my interview. And it was just nice to know that we would only have to wait about 2 weeks. But then on the Wednesday, the 2nd of October, so only 2 days after the alumni interviews, at about 12:30 in the afternoon, I was on the train to uni. Someone messaged in our pre-screen group chat saying that she had just received an email from Yummy Jobs and that she had not got through to the final interviews. I literally sat there in shock. I couldn't believe that we'd heard back so quickly, because we'd been told that we would have to wait nearly 2 weeks, and this was only 2 days after they'd finished. And also I started to think, oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm going to do now, because they're coming out and I'm going to be at uni and I don't want to cry or look like an idiot opening my decision in front of other people. For a good couple of hours, decisions were coming out. It was acceptances, wait lists and rejections. Some people had also said that they hadn't got an email, but on the Yummy Jobs candidate portal, they had reloaded it and their candidate portal said awaiting final interview. The Yummy Jobs candidate portal was updating before the emails were being received. I think it was about 5 o'clock and I had honestly been refreshing my emails and refreshing my candidate portal like a mad woman. I must have looked so distracted in uni. At 5 o'clock, my candidate portal updated and it said awaiting final interview. And although I was extremely happy, I was also like, it's just the candidate portal. I'm not celebrating until I actually get the confirmation email saying that I've got through. I didn't actually receive my email until 9:30 p.m. I think because they tried to send all the emails at the same time, there were so many emails going out that they got really delayed. All in all, I was honestly ecstatic to be moving on to the final interview. My next video will be all about the final interview and all the stages before the final interview that you have to complete. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Missing someone.